auto industry in Ghana has been gaining some sort of momentum recently with the establishment of a vehicle assembly plant by major players such as Toyota. We have Volkswagen, and also just this week as well, President Nana Akufo-Addo joined hands with the Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida to commission West Africa's first assembling plant for Kia vehicles in Ghana. Rana Motors, whose investment has led to this very plant, has already proved to be a provider of some 250 direct jobs and provided more than 300 indirect jobs as well. This afternoon, we are going into this whole topic to explore the potential impact of the developments in Ghana's economy, job creation, and the Africa auto industry as a whole. So we'll be joined very shortly by some of the experts who will share their thoughts with us. We'll have a number of individuals also joining us, including COPEC, who will all share their concerns. But it's time now for us to, first of all, listen to some Ghanaians and what they think about this growing trend of more auto businesses setting up in Ghana.
My name is Jeffrey, and then the importance of using vehicles is one, in terms of quality, structure, and also when it comes to how you can use it to last long. So when we're talking about foreign and then manufactured, made in Ghana cars, I think I'll choose foreign, because once we use foreign cars, it's being used in foreign, and then home cars there, some of them may be like used ones, and maybe determine of the advantages and the disadvantages of the car. Maybe it has an engine problem, it has some faulty about the car, so when you are buying it, you'll be having troubles along the way. But when you import a car outside Ghana and you're using, which is the foreign one there, it's good and you can use it for a very long time.
I'm William, and I think with this opinion, if the brand new ones here, the price is at least as compared to the foreign home used one, if the price is almost the same, why will I go for the used one? I'll go for the one we made in Ghana here.
I'll go in for the home use, because we have this notion that anything that is produced locally is not of good quality. And until we see our leaders using what is locally made, for instance, I'll not go in for any locally product.
Deborah Williams, and I would like to choose the home use first, because so I can save money. But as time goes on, I'll get money and buy another. I want to save money. The manufactured one will be expensive than the home use one.
As most of them are accident cars. So for me, I prefer the brand new cars, because I think those ones are like they've not worked on it. Like, and it's not also let me say, it's not also an accident cars. Okay, so me, I prefer the brand new ones. That's what I can say.
Also this afternoon, we're asking that question: what's the science behind this new industry in Africa? Isaac Ovieje is with our research team, joins us with some figures on this one. Isaac, let's start off by talking about, of course, this potential impact it will have on the economy. We've just seen the president outdoor Rana Motors, or of course the assembly plants for Kia. We know there are others, Toyota and others. How is this going to impact the system?
Well, first we have to look at the market size, and per the data that we have looked at, we can confidently say that this is a big market. And because of the lucrative nature of our automobile policy, and that's why we have all of these big giants moving from the western side to come here and establish such assembly plants here and also feed other countries across the continent. But if you look at Ghana, for instance, annually we import about 100,000 cars into this country. And if you look at the data, about 90%, if you can show it on the touch screen, about 90% of this 100,000 that we're talking about are used cars, blessed. So If
so
we are
importing cars we see on our
absolutely
roads
just about 10, just about 10%,
either salvage vehicles
or accident cars, or whatever you want to call it. But just 10% are brand new cars. But the market is big, because if you look on the other hand, there's 90% used cars that we're talking about. We use close to $1.2 billion every year to bring in this accident cars or used cars. And so it's more or less like a disadvantage to the economy, because where we find ourselves currently, our biggest problem has been exchange reserves, finding dollars to make sure that we're able to afford the things that we need. So if you're able to bring in this big giant into our economy and are able to produce here locally for people to buy, then it means that the kind of import bill burden that is over $1 billion exerts on our external reserve every year will be reduced. So on the touch screen, you can also see some of our key or leading suppliers, where we have US, Japan, and then also Germany. So these 100,000 cars that we are talking about, these are the leading countries that we usually export from. And because of the policies that I spoke about, the tax exemptions and holidays, we've seen Volkswagen, Nissan, Toyota, Suzuki, and then recently Kia all moving to the country to establish their plant here to produce. But one, interesting graph that we saw was the registration of vehicles in Ghana, where, during COVID, it was around 35,000. So as of January 2020, we registered about 35,000 cars. This is data from the Bank of Ghana through the DVLA. It rose to over 50,000 vehicles in 2021, then a marginal climb to 50,380. Then, Blessed, if you can look on the screen, there's a significant decline from 50,000 to 27,000. It's actually truncated by more than 50%. So that's the magnitude, or how the automobile industry or the market looks in Ghana. But if you look at the sales, for instance, it's around 5,000 vehicles almost every year. So this is a lucrative area that I think that these big giants will be looking at. Yeah.
Okay. Isaac, just hold on for us briefly. Let's bring in at this moment Kasim Odemat. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Rana Motors. We have Duncan Amwa, who's the Executive Secretary for the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Then there is Peter Tekwe, Policy Analyst, all joining us in this conversation. Let me start off with you, Peter Tekwe. The whole policy around our automotive industry, do you feel that we're positioning ourselves to be the hub for West Africa?
Indeed, if you look at the Ghana Auto Development Policy, it's a very comprehensive document that has the potential of developing the industry if we actually have the capacity and the political will to roll it out or implement it as it is, written. And so we have very good document on paper, at least to start with. The only issue is having the right infrastructure to be able to execute it, and that is the most important thing.
What we see now, various brands of vehicles, not indigenous, by the way, and there are questions as to whether or not we're building our capacity or giving the opportunity to other brands to flourish. Should that be of concern to us?
Certainly it has to be of concern, because, the Ghanaian taste for vehicles vary, and it gets to a point where now it is about affordability. And so it's looking at various types. So if you look at the market, you have a lot of cars, different, brands in the market. And so it's good for us to open the net to have very good competition with others also coming on board. Because once you limit it, you are restricting the Ghanaian who doesn't want to be restricted because of his choice of vehicle that he wants. And so it is good that we look at the right infrastructure to put in place, as I indicated, to ensure that we have others also coming on board to help compete. We cannot have a perfect start at the same level. But of course, it's good to start from somewhere, and that is where we have to be intentional in building the infrastructure that will enable us grow gradually to get to the level where we want to.
And Odemat, of course, you belong to that group which is now bringing on board a new version of the various brands we've seen in the past set up assembling plants. How unique is your story as Rana Motors, of course, knowing that you're coming into the Ghanaian market, which already has other brands doing a similar thing that you're running?
Yes. First of all, thank you for joining Newstalk, for having me, and a good afternoon to all of you and to the viewers. Actually, for us, like the story of Rana Motors started in the 70s, and in 1984 we first started the Kia brand in Ghana. So we're one of the oldest distributors for Kia in Africa and even all over the world as well. For us to say, when the government came up with the auto development policy, for us, we felt that this is a good initiative that aligns with our vision as a company, where we can industrialize our country and become more and more self-reliant and self-dependent. So for that reason, we believe that we should take part in this policy, and we made sure that if we want to come in, we need to make sure that we're coming in a big manner. Giving diversity, giving a lot of options for our customers. So that's why with us, we started with 6 models of Kia, which are already being assembled. And also in the next few months, we're having 2 to 3 models coming in, also covering light commercial vehicles like the Kia K27 and the K3000. So we're trying as much as possible to give a variety of options to the customer, to make sure that we're covering almost all the segments and almost all the price budgets, and to give an option to all budgets, all customers looking for different budgets of that. Of course, for us, what we also believe is unique about our story is when we build the assembly plant, we made sure that it also aligns with the policy, moving from one level to the next levels in the future, where we have started as an SKD today, and tomorrow we can also go all the way to enhanced SKD and also reach to CKD in the future. So also in the design of our assembly plant, we made sure that all these components are done from the beginning, so we can move from one level to the other, so we can also be able to provide more and more options, and also because at the end of the day, if you want to move forward with a policy that is really comprehensive, we need to make sure that we can cope with it in the future. And definitely we thank the government for that, and we believe that we can do it as Ghanaians, and we believe that we can be self-reliant in the future.
Well, self-reliance may be good. The Ghanaian community is also concerned about the cost. So let me bring in Duncan Amwa just before I get back to you, Kasim. The conversation surrounding the cost comparison as to dealing in salvaged vehicles or used vehicles as compared to what's been assembled here. Duncan, you speak from the perspective of the consumers, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers as well. You've been monitoring the trend. What do you have to say about considerations regarding cost?
Let me say thank you for having me. As part of, the auto development, rollout, we were much concerned with road safety issues. If you have to import a salvage vehicle and it doesn't get fitted well, what danger would it pose to the road user and, for that matter, the ordinary Ghanaian? And so if we could get a situation where the 90-10 rule would see an inverse, situation or reaction in the next few years, we'll be happy. Where a lot more Ghanaians are probably able to afford the brand new versions of the automobiles that we need on our roads, which we are quite confident comparatively will be a lot more durable, will be a lot more reliable for our roads. Then the issue of cost comes in. Why would people want to, 90% of the Ghanaian consuming public as of today, 2023, will still go for the second-hand vehicle as opposed to buying the brand new, although the market is not without these brand new vehicles. It simply has to do with cost, how much difference there is between the second-hand vehicle and the brand new assembled vehicle down here. So once Audimat, and for that matter, Kia happens to be here, they may have to look at a way of making these brand new vehicles that we would want to move towards as a people. And then the issue of durability also comes in. There's that thinking that some brands are more durable than others. We'll be able to. We have done everything that the International Safety Standards Authority would require of us, and our vehicles are quite durable for your terrain. That mindset, there needs to be a conscious education using the media, of course, to get people to accept that, look, it doesn't necessarily have to be a certain brand for it to be good enough for your use in this part of the world. And that whatever we are bringing in or whatever we are assembling here meets every standard requirement for it to be put on your roads. Once that is done, I'm sure a lot more people would still want to now move towards the brand new vehicles. And then the issue of parts. If I were to move towards a certain brand, right, am I going to get ready parts to fix when my car breaks down or when I have to go for servicing? How affordable do they make, the servicing regime for the brand new vehicles as opposed to the second-hand vehicles? When you talk of parts being available, you are also looking at a situation where these automobile dealerships or the assembling plants, we would expect them to train and retrain our mechanics, across the country.
Okay. Right. And just before I come to Peter, Kasim, the issue about cost and safety, which one is your priority?
Definitely for us, safety comes first, because that's what we want to give to all the consumers across the country, whether it's me or anyone doing assembly in the country. For us, of course, all of us who are assembling today, and I can talk about us, for us to be able to have an assembly plant and to be able to manufacture here, assemble here, our OEMs, they come and give us trainings, they make sure that all the systems are in place, all the procedures, everything is in place. So to make sure that the standards that we are coming up with on the vehicles that are assembled here in Ghana are of the same quality that are in other places. But as Duncan says, in addition to that, what we're bringing into Ghana are vehicles that are suitable for the Ghanaian market. Unlike the cars or the second-hand cars that are coming from different countries in the world, which are not suitable to our country's conditions. Because I'll give you an example. For us, all our vehicles also are homologated by the Ghana Standards Authority today. Like all the vehicles you see that we have already assembled are homologated by the Ghana Standards Authority. And all the requirements that we need to fulfill are fulfilled. So also, we've been part of a lot of sessions with the used vehicles importers and also with the Ghana Standards Authority and different agencies of the government, where we were discussing and looking at how can we put standards also, even if you want to import any vehicle, what are the standards? Because they've started homologating the assembled vehicles, but also now they want to apply homologation on all the other vehicles that are being imported into the country, because we need to make sure that whatever is coming into the country fits the roads, fits the conditions and the environment, from emission levels to also like certain like AC, for example, sending a car with an air condition to a place that the humidity is high and the weather is fairly high, temperature is high, is different than when sending cars with air conditions to cold countries as well, or maybe dry countries. So there's a lot of components that are suitable for our country, where if you bring a car that is homologated, you make sure that it is coming for the right conditions and for the right environment. To add to that, when we talk also about the salvaged vehicles, also we've been sitting with the different agencies and the Ghana Standards Authority, where we can define what is a salvaged vehicle, because also apparently a lot of vehicles that are coming into the country are even not suitable to be driven in the first place. They're coming in a statute where they're accident cars or heavily involved cars in heavily involved accidents, where also these things we've been discussing with the government and different agencies on how we make sure that there are third parties on the outside approving and certifying the kind of vehicles that are coming into our country as well, to make sure that safety is there. Now, this is talking about the safety, because as I said, safety is first. When you go up to the cost, definitely for us, when we're importing the vehicles to assemble them here, there's an additional cost on the assembly over here. But when you compare the exemptions and you compare the tax holidays or the tax exemptions that are giving on assembled vehicles in the country, it would make it more appealing price-wise for the consumer. So also this is something that the government and the policy have put in place to make sure that the cost is affordable, the cost is well designed in a way where it can become more and more affordable to the consumer. But in addition to that, as the President of the Republic have mentioned, that also there's a scheme for giving auto loans to the consumers that are at a lower interest rate, especially given and designed for all assembled vehicles in the country, so they can also encourage people to also buy from the assembled vehicles in Ghana. So that's my take on the safety and the cost. And also for us, we need to look at it from a different perspective, that putting all this together will allow us as Ghana to become more and more of a hub for the automotive industry, that can also lead in the future for us to become more and more also exporters if we want in the future.
Okay, and that's why I want to bring in Peter Tekpe, because Peter, if we're to allow this to fester, and if indeed we want the automotive industry here in Ghana to grow, there'll be a need for intentional policies to support the likes of Rana Motors and others that are already in the market. How would you want government to target its or tailor its policies along this sector?
First of all, the way the industry is, we need to understand the practicality of what happens with people who are interested or who wants to buy cars. You know, the Ghanaian, to be specific, wants to buy cars that he can afford. Normally, when somebody starts work or somebody has money, wants to buy a car, the first thing he looks at is affordability, the cost of the car he's buying. Then after that, he looks at the type of car. And you notice that the reason why people get themselves involved in second-hand cars or salvage cars are because of affordability. To the extent that people even bring cars that are, right drive, and they convert it into the left drive. So you realize that the issue of the industry has to do with understanding what happens on the grounds. What type of car do people buy? Why people buy the type of car they buy? So that when you are drafting the policy, you will get everybody involved. So what government needs to do is that One, you engage the consumer, you engage the financiers, that is the banks or whoever wants to finance. The reason why people see it to be very expensive to even go for loans to buy cars. And so when you are bringing policies that affect the average Ghanaian or the less, then what you have to do is to understand how it impacts the people who are affected directly. What is the reason why people buy cars, and why do they buy the type of cars they buy? That's why I said that if you look at the industry as it is now, people buy cars because they can afford certain amount, certain types of cars. And so if because people can afford certain type of car, that's why they buy, then what type of cars do we need to bring so that people can also be able to afford and buy? That is the reason why it is important that the document that we bring out, the policy document we bring out, we involve all the stakeholders all around, and then we discuss it. Other than that, we'll have a very good document or very good write-up on paper, but implementation will become a challenge because those who are involved will not be able to meet that requirement or will not be interested in using it. Then it becomes something that is on paper and nobody is using it. And so policy, to make it work perfectly, has to engage all stakeholders. And that is the only way that you can then get the ideas and be able to come up with a policy that will be, practicable and not a policy that will be on paper.
Let's bring in Isaac, because Isaac has been looking at the document. Isaac, this policy document we're talking about caters makes provision for what's happening in terms of those who are willing to set up here and to do the assembling from within.
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits accruing to such?
Well, so there's a very comprehensive document put together, I think, founded from the Trade Ministry's website. And if you look at some of the objectives of this document, especially with respect to tax holidays. So remember that if you are assembling in Ghana, it's either you are doing the CKD or the SKD, where the CKD simply means completely knocked down, vehicles, and then the SKD is semi-knockdown vehicles. So if you are doing the semi-knockdown vehicles, you get to enjoy about 5 years of tax holidays. That's corporate tax that we're talking about. Okay. And if you are doing the CKD, I think it's around 10 years of corporate tax holiday. And if you look at some of the other policy objectives in terms of tariff, if you are assembling here locally, you get to enjoy about, I think, 65% of tariff reduction. So it's a very comprehensive document and looks very lucrative on paper. But just like Seth said, Tekbe said, we have this in a document. The problem has to do with implementation. But listening to Kasim, it looks as if government is doing all they can to make sure that people or this automotive giants who are assembling here locally are actually enjoying what the policy document is saying. But one thing that you also been raising is about cost. Yeah. Because, if you're assembling here and it's still very expensive, people will opt for different options. They will look for maybe accident cars that are relatively cheaper or something. So the issue of cost is important because most of these cars are sometimes priced in dollars and you have to pay for the CD equivalent. So if you have depreciation of the CD continues, and it means that you need to raise more money to buy that same car. So looking at the document, it looks very good, but the problem has to do with implementation.
I see. Kasim, which of the offers are you taking advantage of? The semi-knockdown option, or you're doing everything from scratch?
There are three levers. There's the semi-knockdown, then the enhanced semi-knockdown, and the CKD. At the moment, we're still at the level of SKD, which is the first level, which all assemblers at the moment are doing. And actually, the reason we started this way, because we want to make sure that we build capacity within our infrastructure. And the government made it into levels because also they want to make sure that the country builds capacity and builds the right skills for the future. So yes, we are all doing SKD at the moment. We at Rana Motors with the Kia vehicles, we're doing SKD. And but as I said, our facility, if you visit it and if you look at the pictures you're looking at, you will see that we have also sections in our assembly line that covers the additional stations that will be needed in the levels of enhanced SKD and maybe CKD in the future. So also to add to what has been said, the auto policy has been comprehensive. Of course, there are also there are some tariffs which are not fully implemented at the moment, but the president has announced that very soon the full implementation of the auto policy will be in place. At the end of the day, when we talk about tax holidays on CKD, so which nobody is nobody is benefiting from at the moment, according to what we have in the country at the moment. I think maybe Kantanka or someone else, but let me put it this way: the tax benefits that are being put in the policy are not being benefited by the assemblers as much as they will be benefited by the consumers, because the consumers at the end of the day will be, what we will do is we are importing those vehicles, we are adding the cost of the assembly on it and adding our margin. But because there are a lot of tax benefits from duties and other zero-rated VAT and all these things, at the end of the day, the consumer is going to be benefiting from all these things. So this will also create the difference in price. This will also create a cost, a better costing for the vehicles that are being assembled here for the consumer to be able to afford. And also, I believe the more models and the more varieties you have in the future, this will give the consumer the diversity to pick which model of cars or which brand he would enjoy having at the end of the day. So to put everything into perspective, safety, if you look at the combination of safety and cost put together, definitely what will be assembled here will be more and more cost and safety conscious towards the consumers. Today, as Peter was saying before, that sometimes even they bring any car, even if it's a right-hand drive, they make it a left-hand drive. But also this is affecting a lot of safety issues when it comes on driving those vehicles. We are also, if you look at statistics about the accidents that are happening, most of the accidents that are happening due to quality issues or to cars that are not suitable for our countries. And also you will see sometimes some fatalities happening due to maybe airbags not working or this not working. That's, for me, I believe the safety issue is a very important thing and a very important subject that we need to concentrate on, because at the end of the day, of course, you want a properly costed car, which the assembled car will be providing, but also you need a safe car. So you need to put those two together, those two components, and make sure that the consumer is benefiting of a cost-effective product plus a safe product that is meant for this country and for the environment.
The bigger question about the job opportunities available for the Ghanaian population, are you also keen on that?
Definitely. Actually, the whole policy was created and put in place to industrialize Ghana and to have more and more factories and assembly plants across the country. The main point of it is to create an economical cycle plus creating more and more jobs in the country. For us, at the moment, already with the current volume of production that we're having, we're already employing 50, having direct employments for 50 new jobs in the country. But the more the volumes go up, the more the market situations get better, we will be employing more and more. I think this facility that we have built, if it has to go to full capacity, we may reach even 1,000 jobs in the future.
Wow, 1,000 jobs. That's impressive. Kasim, thank you for joining us. Let me take the final thoughts of Duncan Amwa, who's with us, and Peter Tekpe as we wrap up. Duncan, let me start off with you.
Well, for us, it is good to have uh, the country towards casting for that massive the types they are designing the what else might not be the same here. So if you have a certain competitive edge, you might as well design these vehicles such that they are extremely comfortable with the type of fuels that is used in Ghana. And then again, like Peter Wright mentioned, all of this would actually
We seem to be having some challenges with Duncan Amwa. Peter, let's just wrap up on this conversation with you.
Thank you. The major issue normally with this type of policies, very good policies, is that we don't have the needed infrastructure to be able to execute these kind of policies. And so one of the advice to government is that a policy like this, which will solve a major problem, because you move across the country and you see a lot of mechanic shops around. And these mechanic shops you see around, they don't have the required capacity or the training or the knowledge, mostly in the cars that they work on. So you send your car to somebody to work on it. He doesn't have knowledge, doesn't have understanding how the car operates. He will use try and error before you realize the car will start developing problems after you take it from the mechanic shop. This is because these people don't have the needed required capacity to manage these cars. And so what government needs to do is to build the right infrastructure that will consolidate all these people, train them, prepare them. When you prepare the market, then you can now be able to start rolling out. But when you start rolling out before you start preparing the infrastructure, build the infrastructure, then you put in a lot of more resources than is required. Because when you start all from the beginning simultaneously, it helps you to move along smoothly and everybody gets, because one of the thematic areas of the comprehensive policy is about developing local supply, chain. And when that is done, you realize that you are going to bring a lot of people on board to solve economic problem, which is to solve an unemployment problem. You have fiscal consolidation as well. And you have the government also making good revenue from it.
Okay, grateful. Kasim, to Peter and Duncan Amwa. So we're going, what do we need to focus on?
I mean, this is good because one, it will actually help, bring down the pressure on our import bills. About $10 billion is not a joke.
Right.
And at a time where we need about $3 billion bill package from the IMF, the main focus has been, to support balance of payments. And so if some of these policies will help bring down import bill, then it's good. And we are also talking about an youth unemployment rate of more than 19%. And even if you look at our youth, those who are unemployed, not in education or not in any form of training, is about 25%. It simply means that if you sample about 100 of our youth, 25 of them are unemployed, not without jobs, or not in training or in school. So some of these programs will actually help us reduce the unemployment rate, and just like Peter said, to help achieve fiscal consolidation and get that fiscal space we need to run our economy.
And I'm equally grateful to Isaac Kofi with our Joy News Research Desk for joining us in this conversation as well. You're watching The Pulse on the Joint News channel. When we get back, we're also looking at the coronation of King Charles III. A lot of activities happening in the United Kingdom as we speak. We'll take you there, get the latest for you. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. Please stay. We'll be right back.